Hello, Plus One members. Welcome to week 4 of Plus One training. Hope you guys had a great week last week with Larry. Picked up a lot of great things about some breaking breads and hosting some client parties, and just doing a little check-in on your action steps. We should have scheduled at least 2 breaking breads. Picked a date and time for our client event. We should still have our kind of our standard of 15 COI calls, 15 handwritten notes, and then 5 pop buys. And then we want to schedule at least 2 other appointments. Hopefully you guys have accomplished all of those. And today we're going to talk about working with buyers. Buyers are great. They are, to me, kind of the lifeblood of the business. Everyone always wants listings, but if you're in this for a career, guess what happens with buyers? They eventually turn into sellers, and then they turn to buyers again. That sets a great foundation for getting your business started. So we're going to dive into some of the stuff here today. A couple things we're going to talk about is just some referral dialogues. So we will be saying when we're working with clients, how we prep clients and get ready for going out there on the market, as well as how we want to duplicate them over the course of all of this as well. So kind of diving in, we want to talk about how we educate our clients on what the industry typically says. So on that, we have most people out there kind of cold calling, door knocking, things like that. I work 100% by referral. I found that's the best way to do it, so I can give my clients a high level of attention throughout the process. While other people are kind of out just prospecting. I'm relying on you, the buyer and the client, to help me out along the way. So if you like the high level of service that I provide, then I'd really appreciate you connecting me with your friends, family, coworkers who may be getting in the market here in 2024. So it's a good little dialogue right there. Other things on here, we want to make sure we get all of our buyers, make sure when we have them, first thing we want to have them do is get pre-qualified. If they are pre-qualified, we have a kind of a clear price point in mind. What we don't want to do with buyers is start just taking them out. They say that they're a $500,000 buyer. They haven't talked with a lender yet, and then it turns out they can only buy at 300. Now you've been looking at 500s, and now everything that they look at tends to not be as good. Their expectations are shot now. So we want to get them into the office if at all possible. We want to get that done early on. We want to have them talk with the lender. I always postpone my appointments with buyers if they have not spoken with the lender yet. That is the number one most important step of all of this. So we want to make sure we have them really ready to go and prepped coming into our meeting, know what loan type they have, kind of have an idea of what price point they're going to be in, how much money do they have, if we have to cover appraisal shortfalls, things like that. Also, if they're FHA buyers or if they're conventional buyers, we want to know because that does dictate what type of houses we can go look at. Some of the houses, if they are in pretty rough shape, may not qualify for those first-time home buyer loans like FHA, VHDA, VA, things along those lines. So we want to kind of know that going into it. That can also allow us to eliminate things like foreclosures, which is that aren't really going to qualify for those kind of first-time home buyer loans. Other things on here too, we want to paint the picture for our clients. We want to show them this can be a little bit of a stressful process. We want to be able to kind of guide them through this. Let them know there is light at the end of the tunnel. There may be a few hiccups along the way, but we're going to put them in a great spot to succeed over the course of all of this. So on that, we want to let them know imagine where you want to be. We want to get their search set up, so we're looking at the proper areas for them. So when we go into the actual office, I always try to go over. We've got a little packet that we go over all of, with all of our buyers. This is one we have here on RLT. We really just kind of flip through here. This is a great overview. If you would like a copy of this, please reach out to me. I'll be glad to email you the PDF version of this, so you won't be able to print this out and use it on your own, but I think it's good to make one of these for your own clients, and that way you have it in there with exactly kind of your wording, what makes most sense to you. This is just how we've laid it out. It's worked great for us over the past 12 years, but buyer presentation is where you really set all your expectations up front for your clients. With that, this is the most important meeting you're going to have with the buyer. This is going to save you so much time, energy, effort. We want to go over what's getting ready to happen, how it all works, when is money going to be due up front, things along those lines. So just briefly kind of running through here with you, we go over the common misconceptions held by home buyers. Number one is, it costs you money to get pre-qualified. That's not true. Lender hasn't charged you any money. Realtors can only represent you in the purchase of a single family home. Let your clients know I can help out with new construction, lots, townhouses, condos, land, whatever it may be. If they're looking for single family houses, let them know that, hey, I can help out your friends. If they're interested in only new construction, I can represent them in that as well. So make sure you let them know that and start working on generating the referrals. I ask for referrals kind of the entire time through this. That does become a key note of all of this. And then let them know when we're looking at the Rogers Long team, we are not just restricted to hometown realty listings. We can go see all the other brokerages out there. We can get them in and out of all those houses as well, including for sale by owners. I always make a little tidbit on that for sale by owners tend to be kind of a giant pain. They usually don't know what their house is worth. They think they're smarter than everybody. A lot of times their houses are overpriced. They don't know how the transaction works, so it can be kind of a difficult situation. But if you reach out to me and send me a picture and the address of the house, I'll do some background info and I'll reach out to the owner and see if we can get a scheduled showing. So that's how we kind of handle that one. All right, you will select the perfect home. That is very false. Very, very false. We're going to try to check off as many boxes for them as possible. But a house is not going to have every single thing you want in it. Even new construction, there's still going to be stuff you'd want to change, alter, correct on the plans. Once you get in there, you're going to realize, I don't really love the way this door swings out instead of in. The layout could change a little bit there too, but overall, the house is not going to be perfect. If we're chasing perfection, we're never going to find anything. They're going to be looking forever. So we want to check off as many boxes as possible, but not going to get them all. All right, and then lastly on here, you must pay your realtor when you close on your purchase. Obviously, we have some stuff going on legally with this now, but the way we work here on the RLT is we get paid whatever is offered in the MLS. Speak with your broker. If you do not work or operate that way, there may be some ones with some lower commissions on here now, but as of this second, the way we operate is we just get paid whatever is offered in MLS. Usually that's 2.5% to 3%. So just some quick little common misconceptions to go over with them. Talk about who's involved in the transaction. Here for us, this is going to be myself as your realtor. We have a transaction coordinator. We also have the lending team, the settlement team, the attorney. We have the inspector. We have the homeowner's insurance. We have the listing side. This is not an opponent. This is not a fight. This is us going through, and we have a seller who wants to sell and a buyer who wants to buy, and how we make it to the end of the table and get there all together. So not a fight. We want this be a kind of a good process and keep everything on the up and up with all parties. All right, after that, we kind of dive into the purchasing pathway for us. On here, number one is get pre-qualified, if we've kind of already talked about. Number two is initial appointment. I always try to set this in the office if at all possible. Some people do them in coffee shops, meet people at houses. I never really want to meet a buyer for the first time out at a property. Very rarely will I do that. If I get, we don't do a whole lot of Zillow marketing or anything along those lines, but every now and then we'll get like an e-lead or someone just reach out or inquire on a property. But I always try to get them into the office. I don't want to go show them a bunch of stuff if they're not pre-qualified, so I had to get on that phone call and kind of pre-qualify them best I can on there to see what they're able to go out there and do and get them connected with one of your trusted lenders, especially over at Town First. After the initial appointments, and we're going to go over this whole packet and get their search set up and then kind of turn them loose. We want to know what their time frames are. Are they in a lease? Do they have a flexible situation as far as they staying with family? Or do they need to be in a house, tomorrow and they got to go buy kind of whatever's out there? We need to know the time frame and what they're looking for because that will dictate how fast we need to move on some of this stuff. All right, once we got to actually start looking at houses, we want to show them the house. It's always good to shadow other agents, especially on home inspections if you can, to get an idea of what to expect when you're walking through a house. I've been doing this now for 12 years, walked through thousands of houses. I'm able to go through and pick out, hey, that's an old HVAC. Just from driving by, I can tell the roof's old. You want to try to get familiar as possible with houses. You want to educate yourself. This is what you're going to sell every single day. The more houses you walk through, the more things you're going to notice. And just try to continue to educate yourself. I think if you ask some of the agents around your office, if you can borrow copies or they'll give them to you, either links or copies to old home inspections, try to get an idea of what are some common things that pop up in houses, how we address them, and also kind of how much those things cost. That way you can be sound educated when you're talking with your clients going through houses. I always let them know when we're going through houses, I'm going to tell them I think this is a bad house if I think it's a bad house. End of the day, it's 100% their call, but I do pride myself on telling people no. If I sold a bunch of bad houses, you're not going to be in business very long. You're not going to get repeat business. You're not going to get referrals. We want to put them in good houses. Let them know that, and that does build some trust as well. So if you tell someone, no, I don't think this is a great house for you, they're just going to continue to respect your opinion on that, and hopefully you can lead them to a house that they're going to like and love. All right. Once we actually find a house they like, get the offer negotiated, get the terms ratified, we are going to have 3 times when money is going to be due up front prior to closing. This is going to be the earnest money deposit. This is also going to be your inspection, which will happen within 0 to 14 days. And then we also have your appraisal is paid for up front. So those are kind of your out-of-pocket upfront costs. So let them know that earnest money deposits typically around $1,000 up to 1% of the purchase price, sometimes more. The more you put down, the better you look in the eyes of a seller on that. So expecting $1,000 up to 1% of whatever the house is worth. Expect that for out-of-pocket upfront. That's usually due within about 3 days after going under contract. After that, like I said, you have to officially apply for the loan within 7 days, and then we have the property inspection in there. The property inspection is, we have inspectors. They are paid. They are true third-party costs. That is not included in any estimates the loan officer has given you. That is going to be usually about $400 to $500 to get the house inspected. That is kind of a health check on the house. We're not here to, there's not a ton of negotiation going on these days, but we can ask for some things depending on what they are, but we're really looking for stuff that's really more of a licensed contractor needs to take care of. We're going to have, little cracks, little dings, little dents. I like to use the analogy of a used car. You're going to have some miles on it. You're going to have dings, dents, and leaks. Same thing with the house. Even on new construction, you still have your 11-month walkthrough for pretty much all builders. That's because you're going to have things that shift, change, crack a little bit, things that come loose. So there are going to be things that are wrong with just about every house. I've not seen the perfect house out there, like we've already mentioned, but we do definitely want to get kind of a good health check on the house. How old is the HVAC? How old is the roof? What do I need to budget for coming up? All right. Once we get through the property inspection, we have the appraisal. That's just making sure we are paying the right value for the house in the eyes of the bank on that. And then that is also an upfront cost. So you usually take a credit card when you apply for your loan. After we get through that, preparing for closing. So what we have here is we are going through, make sure they get utilities set up, make sure they're staying in contact with the bank, the lender, the attorneys, make sure they get on the paperwork, we're staying on track. We want to be checking in weekly during this time period, or when there's any other updates to pass along, but make sure we're staying in contact with our clients the entire time. The more we stay in contact with them, also presents opportunities to ask for referrals, and that's also providing high level of communication, which is high level of service, and that's what we want to show them, so we earn the referrals of their friends and family. All right, we get our final figure, which is your closing disclosure. We get that 3 business days prior to closing. That's going to have all the accounting of the money in the entire transaction. That's what they're going to be bringing to the closing table. Typically, if it's over $25,000 cash to close, that needs to be wired to the attorney firm or the closing company. So we use MG Law for all of our stuff. They're great partners for us, and they take great care of our clients. That'll get all balanced out, get that final number to them. If it's less than $25,000, you can do a cashier's check or a certified check. It cannot be a personal check from your regular checkbook. All right, so just make sure they are aware of that. And then closing time, you'll actually sit down at the attorney's office and you're going to sign a stack of papers about that thick. Your hand's gonna get tired. It's all redundant. It's a lot of the same stuff you've already signed at loan application. That stuff you have to sign prior to closing. That is the day that you also get your keys, and that's when the rest of your money is due. So that's kind of a brief little overview of the purchasing pathway. The key takeaway with this is we want to walk our clients through to set expectations. We want to let them know, hey, this is what's going to be happening next. Remember when we talked about when we were in our buyer rep, then we talked about the home inspection and then the appraisal, and they kind of know when money's due. There's no surprises that are really popping up for them during this time period. All right. Don't do it page. This is really more financing. These are things that, like I say, can prevent people from buying a house, as far as can throw a wrench in the loan. We don't want to be changing banks and moving our money around. We don't want to be depositing cash. We don't want to be closing or opening new lines of credit anywhere. We don't want to be changing our job. Major purchases. Hold off on buying all your appliances, your couches, furniture, whatever it may be, hold off on cars. Anytime you're taking out anything that's kind of out of the norm, we want to try to avoid that. Once you close on the house, you can do whatever you want to with your money. But up until that, we're kind of in penny pinching mode, knowing that we're going to have 1,000 people kind of looking at our finances to make sure we are able to repay the loan. All right. Brief overview of the loan process. Pre-approval is getting all your basic information over to your lender. Once you go under contract, you officially apply for your loan. That's when you get all your updated bank statements, your updated taxes, everything there. They're going to have a giant list. The more organized you are with this, the smoother the process goes. All right, then speaking of process, we go to processing. They're going through to make sure we don't have any giant red flags, anything out of the norm in here. After that, it goes to the underwriters. They're the ones going to make sure you're actually able to repay the loan. All right, we have the appraisal in there as well. We already talked about that. And then we have the closing department to coordinate with both sets of attorneys in order to produce that closing disclosure with the final amount due at closing. So just like to give a brief overview of all of the stuff. That way, like I said, there's no sort of giant surprises as we're going through, okay? And on this page, all these are examples we've had that have delayed closing or kind of thrown a wrench in things. Those are things we definitely just want to avoid, make people conscious of. That way they don't run into it. And we never want to tell them, hey, I told you so, but it does give you a little leverage on that, all right? How we schedule showings, a lot of stuff in here. What we let people know is I like to do it just a simple text message. Text me the MLS number. That gives me the most accurate way to pull up the house. If they text me an address, I always find that street names are spelled a little bit odd, a little bit weird, and people tend not to spell them right, or they get the number one digit off, and then you can't find the house. So I always have them send me the MLS number. It's the most accurate way for us to get that pulled up. All right. Once we have their MLS number, provide some dates and times that they want to check out the houses. And there as much notice as possible. Our schedules get pretty hectic. Also, let your clients know your schedules. We try to do call blocks on Mondays. We're reaching out to all of our active buyers, make sure we're constantly staying in touch with them at least one time a week minimum. During that time, I'm letting them know, hey, I have Thursday and Friday afternoon kind of available. If you see anything that's right out there you want to go check out, let me know as soon as possible. I'll get you blocked off in my schedule. If a house pops up at 9 p.m. at night, you shoot me a text. One, may be asleep. Two, I'll get to it first thing in the morning, but just know that we need to reach back out to the listing agent, who's got to reach out to the sellers, who may have to reach out to the babysitter, dog sitter, whatever it may be. So as much notice as possible we have on that, please provide. All right, they have the ability to drive around prior to going to actually look at a house with you, the agent. We definitely want them to drive by. Can't tell me times we've driven up to houses and people get out and they look around and like, I don't really want to live here. And then we just kind of wasted a trip, not only for ourselves, not only for our clients, but also for the sellers and everybody else too. So if they have the ability to drive by, please try to do that. We want them here in red. We have it turn off Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, all those other third-party sites. MLS is the one who provides all that information. All those other sites pull directly from us. So what we have is going to be the most accurate information out there. I like to get very detailed with the search, and that way if they say, hey, why didn't this house pop up on my portal? It's because maybe it's got hardboard siding that requires a lot of maintenance, and we eliminated that in our buyer rep. So some of those things are just kind of good to remind them of. People are still going to inevitably still continue to be out there looking, but we want to have them kind of be reaching back out to us and not searching kind of all these third-party sites, because a lot of times those houses are not going to match up with what we talked about when we set their search up. Okay. That's pretty much it as far as this goes. Very, simple text message, dates, times is how we operate. If you do it a little bit differently, that's completely okay. Just make sure we have open lines of communication. Home inspection explained. This is where we kind of talk about the home inspection and talk about what we are able to really ask for and we're not able to ask for. We're looking for defects, not cosmetic flaws. Defects means something is dysfunctional or not working properly. And then, with that, if something is old, say the HVAC is 20 years old, that's kind of past its regular lifespan, but if it's still blowing out cold air when it's supposed to blow out cold air and hot air when it's supposed to blow out hot air and the temperature differentials are fine, there's nothing really wrong with it. It's just old. That's something we need to just kind of be conscious of and be able to budget for in the future, knowing that may be coming down the line, okay? Things we're not asking for is stuff if you can do it on Saturday or Sunday at Home Depot, making a trip out there and being your own little handyman. Those are generally things you're not asking for. These are kind of your bigger ticket items most of the times, okay? I go over some common contract verbiage with people if we're in competitive situations, talk about price, escalation clause, says we're going to pay $1,000 or $2,500 more than the next highest offer, up to whatever amount your buyer is comfortable with. All right. On there, we want to talk about the inspection. If people are waiving inspections, I never really recommend that for buyers. Very few cases when that happens. But some buyers are more comfortable with that than others. We never want our buyers to feel uncomfortable. We want to make sure we talk through what is going on here, what are their options, what's the best path, what's the best chance of you getting the house without walking in there completely blind, okay? This is where it comes to knowing what do you actually look for in a house, what do things typically cost. You should be able to go through a house and kind of get them an idea of, hey, this needs to be fixed. This is a common issue. You see this in a lot of houses, simple handyman Saturday sort of deal. Or, hey, this is going to cost about $500. Or, hey, we need to get a structural engineer out here to look at some of these things. Go into that. That way we have just a little amount of surprises when we actually get the home inspection done. Inspection for informational purposes only means we can have an inspection. Can't ask them for repairs. Cannot ask them for credit. If you wanted to back out the contract, you're at risk of losing your deposit on that. Line item minimum is one that I really enjoy using. I've had a lot of success with, saying that we are not going to ask for repairs that are $500 or less, $1,000 or less, $2,500 or less. It's pretty much saying we're not going to ask for the nickel and dime stuff, but if there's significant issues, we have the ability to negotiate those through. So these are all just kind of more and more attractive to sellers. As is addendum, I love that for buyers, not really for sellers, because it gives the buyer, like I said, unilateral ability to walk out of a deal with the seller having no real recourse. So don't see that a ton. And then also keep in mind with an as is addendum, that also if there is a well and septic, that is now on the buyer, which is typically on the seller, and same thing with termite, okay? On there, talk about appraisals. You can waive appraisals, you can do appraisal gaps. Those are things we need to know as far as how much cash our clients have. We don't need to know exact details, but we need to know if we need to put a clause in there as far as the appraisal goes, how much do we have wiggle room wise to work with outside of our regular down payment, okay? Client responsibilities, we talk about not stressing out. Number one thing there, so kind of corny and cliche, but we do not want our clients, stressing. This should be kind of a fun process, and let them know, hey, you're probably going to lose 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 houses before you get one. The good news is we're going to stay persistent. We like to win. We're going to continue going out there and until they, get into a house. All right. Not the end of the world if we lose one, especially if your client's not willing to waive an inspection, but somebody else is. I let them know, hey, we shrug our shoulders, we move on. You weren't willing to do that, so we feel comfortable with our decision moving forward, and we're going to go find the next one. All right. Number 2, make great decisions. I'm not going to be living in the house with them, is what I tell them. It's going to be their house. They're going to be the ones out there living in it every single day. So we're going to give them as much information to help them make a good informed decision, but we are not going to be living there. So it's 100% their call. All right. We're going to give them as much information as possible, but their call at the end of the day. Lastly, only other thing we ask is refer us to your friends and family, coworkers, whoever else it may be. If you know anybody else getting in the market, we want to be in front of them. We'd like to talk to them. The best way to do that is a 3-way introduction. Connect us all in a group text message. Introduce me to them, give me a call, give me a heads up, but we know that we'll take great care of them. Like I said, a lot of other agents are out there doing cold calling, door knocking, everything like that. I'm putting my head down. I'm going to work for you in the hopes of doing a great job for you, providing my undivided attention while I'm with you. I always keep my phone in my pocket whenever I'm with clients, and that also gives me a little bit of grace when I don't get back to people right away, because I'm going to do the same thing when I'm with them. So I get back to them as soon as I possibly can on all this stuff, but we're going to provide a high level of service, and that way we earn their referrals at the end of it. As we're staying in contact with people throughout this whole process, we want to kind of hammer in referrals. To me, the best client to generate a lead from is a current client, and that is because they're talking about houses all the time. They're going to work. They're searching on the portal. Their coworkers see them looking at the houses. Did you see this one? Did you see that one? Next thing you know, their coworkers, oh yeah, we've been thinking about moving too. Well, hey, Kevin's doing a great job for me. Let me get you guys connected. And that's kind of how we duplicate them as much as possible. So that's just kind of a brief overview of what we do with each buyer before we ever take them out into a house. Like I said, that to me is the most beneficial thing to go over with them. Sets your expectations, how you work. You're in control. You're the professional. So make sure we have that going on for us there too. All right. So we don't get if you get sign calls, so if you have a listing, you got a buyer that calls off the sign. Every now and then, I will meet somebody out front, just try to create that, and especially if they're not really willing to come into the office. I don't mind every now and then going out there, but a lot of times if they're gonna go make me drive out and they haven't talked with the lender yet, a lot of times it can be a waste of time. So if they're serious, let them know on the phone. We want to pre-qualify them. Find out what they're able to actually go out there and do. Are they able to go out and buy right now, or do we need to wait 2 more years? Do they have credit that's in the 400s, or are they a 800 buyer with potentially cash? Those are all things we want to try to figure out. I want to ask for proof of funds if you're ever working for cash buyers on there, but we do definitely want to try to meet buyers in the office if at all possible. Okay. We want to just walk people through houses. I think it's great to go preview houses. If you're newer to the agent, newer to the business agent, tag along, see how some of the people who've been in for 5-10 years, how they operate, how they go through. Hometown's got a very good open door policy. People are more than willing to let you tag along. Just do your best to be respectful and observe. Take some notes as you go through. There's a ton of knowledge out there, and it's right under your fingertips. So make sure you utilize it throughout the company. All right. For next week, our action steps, we want to call all of our active buyers. We also want to call all of our buyers that are under contract, and we should be doing that, like I said, at least weekly on that. Those are opportunities to give your schedule for the upcoming week, and also just let them know, hey, I've been looking at the market, I've seen some of these other houses. I do try to let the clients know that I am going out and trying to find other new houses that could eventually be a fit for them. So please be very active on your portal. I can see what you like and what you dislike. So make sure you keep that categorized, and that way I get a better feel for what you're looking for. But I'm going to be out there looking for new sellers pretty much all day, every day. I want them to be kind of the captains of their portal. I want them to be very in tune with it. I still copy myself on their searches as well, so I can kind of take a look at them. I'm not going to be going through every single house. I have 25, 30 people usually set up on searches at a time. I try to check out the hot sheets, which is a great thing on MLS to see what's new to the market. Those are good to text out to people, but let them know that, hey, I want you guys to be on top of this, and I'm going to be kind of monitoring it. But, I don't know exactly. Like I said, you're the ones living there, not me. I want you to be the ones kind of picking this out. We have it set up to your parameters. We want to get very detailed in their search as well. So just make sure we get that set up as detailed as possible for them, while still make sure we do have some matches for them to look at. All right. We want to role play as much as possible too. What are common objections that buyers, have? I think this house is worth too much money. Well, why do you think that? Well, did you see the one down the street that sold for $20,000 more than this one's listed at? Houses are selling for 102% of list price. We want to kind of be able to have some of those stats, know what's going on in the market to provide that high level of service to our clients. Role play the buyer appointment. I just did one of these the other day. I actually had my phone and I videotaped one with some new buyers in here. That way I could go back and look and see what do I need to clean up, what wasn't clear, what wasn't concise. And those are just good things to role play either with other people in your office or friends and family. So don't be afraid to go do that. Other action steps we have this week, 15 more COI calls. So please get that done and knocked out. That's 3 a day during the week if you're doing 15. But try to sit down. I like to call for set a 2-hour time block, and I get those 15 phone calls knocked out in 2 hours. Write your list the day before and then go hammer it out. All right. 15 handwritten notes. You can write notes to all those buyers or all those people you just reached out to. Or what you can do is anybody you set appointments with or get a face-to-face with, go ahead and schedule a time to get your handwritten notes. Sometimes towards the end of the week is a good time to do this. If you'd like to write 3 a day, that's great. If you like to write 15 at a time, I think that's a little bit better. That works for me. So I usually kind of look back at, hey, who have I called the entire week? Who have I seen face-to-face? And I'll go through and I'll write them notes on Thursday or Friday on there. And then try to do 5 pop-bys. This is still a relationship business. We want to get face-to-face with as many people as possible. There's nothing better than popping by and seeing somebody, or breaking bread, coffees, lunches, happy hours, whatever it may be. Get out there, and then whenever you're out with clients actually showing houses, make sure you find a way to kind of work in that referral dialogue Specific asks always work a little bit better. And then, get out there, and if you have buyers looking in a certain area, maybe some of your calls next week can be for people that that live in that certain area. Let them know that you have some clients that are looking, and see if they're interested in selling their house, or if they know of any other neighbors that may be candidates to move anytime here soon. So hope that was helpful today. Please feel free to reach out to me. Said Kevin Long. Cell phone 804-690-0367. Kevin L at HTRSI if you'd like to get a copy of the buyer agreement packet that we use. I said I do highly encourage you making your own of those to put it in your words. But here to help. Use me as a resource and go out there and sell some houses. So hope that worked for buyers. Got any questions? Call me. Thanks. Bye, Hometown.